Chad Prevost, I'm Tim Dooner. Welcome to What the Truck.
You're pretty great too, Dune.
Hey man, new Mac OS is out, and guess what?
What?
Ding dong, iTunes is dead.
Oh.
For a long time, for podcasters, we've been getting messages, start marketing as Apple Podcasts, not iTunes, and this day we knew it would be coming.
I'm not going to miss it.
You're not going to miss it?
No.
I don't think a lot of people are. Yeah. It's a very bloated system.
Yeah.
It's a weird week, man. We have a weird show. I mean, if you see the headline that's on there, we're going to be talking about polar bear-sized pigs, marginalized clowns, and I don't know if you saw what Glenn Levitt put out, but it's like a Tide Pod filled with whiskey. It seems like a bad idea.
Subscription service. Sign me up. Low-cal way to get your alcohol, I guess. I don't know.
Would you drink like a Jello shot of whiskey? Would you drink that?
I mean, you're asking my 19-year-old self.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done it. I don't know. Maybe if it's good. I got an open mind.
All right. A lot of Scotch drinkers were saying, they were like, pull it down, take it down. It's destroying the brand.
Wow. Aren't all clowns marginalized? Maybe redundant.
And it reminds me of that tweet who was like, back in 2016 when people were dressing up like clowns, and it was like, is it someone dressed up like
clown signs?
And it was like, is it someone dressed up as a clown, or is it an actual clown? And then people are like, well, what is an actual clown?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think could that be? And now I'm thinking all philosophically about it, like someone who just completely identifies as a clown now.
Well, apparently clowns, they are meant. The reason they're creepy is they're meant to sort of imitate a corpse in a sense. Like
they are.
Yeah. It's like it's pale and white, and it's grotesque.
I guess.
Aspects.
I guess it depends on what circus you go to. Well, let's get to the headlines, man. There's some really interesting ones today, so let's pop it up. Oh, wait, before we
do that, we've got to pay the bills, Dooner.
Yeah, TriumphPay is the leading carrier payment platform in transportation. With over 50,000 carriers paid, TriumphPay helps to drive capacity, efficiency, and cash flow for brokers and shippers. Visit TriumphPay.com to learn more.
Hit the music, Duna.
Speaking of Tide Pods filled with whiskey, hundreds of driving licenses canceled as drunken e-scooter riders cause chaos at beer festival at Oktoberfest. The German police had a field day, marshaling people around at the world's largest beer festival, Oktoberfest, mediating in nearly 2,000 altercations at the 16-day event held annually in the months of September and October in Munich, Germany. Oktoberfest witnesses 7 million people every year consume over 7.5 million liters. That's 2 million gallons of beer for our Americans.
What could go wrong? Though mild road skirmishes have always occurred in the area surrounding Oktoberfest, this year saw the entry of e-scooters that added to the complexity, you can imagine. Throughout the length of the event, e-scooters were stopped en masse by the police as people under the influence drove them recklessly. Shocker.
Yeah.
Haven't heard anything like that. Of the 414 people who were caught driving intoxicated, 254 e-scooter riders lost their automobile driver licenses on the spot. Didn't know that could happen, but it can. Munich had legalized the use of e-scooters within city boundaries in June this year, and has since then penalized over 400 users for driving drunk, not including the people caught at Oktoberfest.
Because that's gone way up now.
So in a way, their margins are probably expanding.
Well, there's 7 million people there, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. It's like
how many arrests?
100-ish.
254. That's out of 7 million, it's like nothing.
Yeah,
it sounds like a lot, but it's like a drop in the beer bucket. Thomas Bowley, with the umlaut over it, Munich city administrator in Motley Crue, Music City administrator, in a statement, he said many see e-scooters as toys, and unfortunately, too often they're ridden while drunk. In order to avoid this and to not tempt anyone, we city administrators, police, and also rental companies want to keep e-scooters far away from the Wiesen. I guess that's the Oktoberfest. Meanwhile, German politicians are criticizing the government. They're saying that for passing a law that allows the use of e-scooters on German roads without contemplating the repercussions that followed. And now they're
just writing out tickets like they're candy.
They're like, you should have known this would have happened.
So making a little revenue from it, I guess.
Yeah.
In other news, husband and wife tragedy here. Yeah. Husband and wife truckers killed in a crash near El Paso. Texas Department of Public Safety officers said 62-year-old Deborah Reagan and her husband Terry Huey, 64, were traveling along I-10 eastbound around 90 miles southeast of El Paso, according to the El Paso Times. Reagan was driving the tractor trailer while Huey was asleep in the captain, according to officials. Reagan was approaching the Sierra Blanca border checkpoint in West Texas when she rear-ended a 2018 Freightliner tractor trailer towing two Hyundai pup trailers, according to law enforcement.
Isn't it Hyundai?
Hyundai. I'm sorry. Hyundai?
I don't know. But either way, the collision caused Reagan's truck to... This is awful. The collision caused Reagan's truck to catch fire. Reagan and Huey, both from Springtown, Texas, were pronounced dead at the scene. So
something
that's god-awful, like trapped in there during that. Officials said Reagan failed to properly control the speed of the vehicle she was driving. Reagan and Huey were employees of Dallas-based Estes Express Lines. Company officials told KVI-TV News that Reagan and Huey had driven for the company for over 20 years.
Wow.
So... Man, it just takes one bad moment. Gurcharan Singh, 52, and Fidelfio, sorry for masquerading this, but Fidelfo Cerebrios, who was 56, who were in the Freightliner. They were taken to Culberson County Hospital with various injuries. Tough story, hard to read.
Yeah. UAW strike hits roadblock as negotiations take turn for the worst.
Yeah, the United Auto Workers National Strike. We've been following this. We've read these headlines many times, and it was funny on Friday. They were saying that it looked like they were coming towards a resolution, but things took, as you just said, they took a turn for the worse over the weekend. The United Auto Workers National Strike against GM has entered its fourth week today with no resolution in sight. Over the weekend, tensions increased between the two parties as the UAW claimed that GM ignored their most recent slate of proposals. On Sunday, Terry Diddy's VP of the UAW wrote an email to Scott Sandifer, Vice President of GM North America's Labor Relations, that read in part that you didn't even have the professional courtesy to explain why you could not accept or why you rejected our package proposal we presented yesterday. The law and basic decency require no less.
The UAW claimed in a letter to its 46,000 members that GM did not address the union's extensive package and instead re-offered a previously rejected deal. The impact of the strike has already led to over 10,000 layoffs on non-UAW employees in Ontario, Ohio, and Mexico. GM responded to Diddy's letter with the following. We continue to negotiate in good faith with very good proposals that benefit employees today and builds a stronger future for all of us. We are committed to continuing discussions around the clock to reach a resolution.
Yeah, back on September 15th, GM outlined its offer to the union that promised more than, get this, $7 billion in investments over the life of a new contract. The automaker said that it would create more than 5,400 jobs, boost base wages, pay lump sum bonuses, improve benefits, and according to the Detroit News, rescue its Detroit Hamtramck assembly plant from closure and build a new battery plant near where I was back in May, near the idled Lordstown plant in Ohio.
Could be a solution.
But it seems like they rejected it. I guess it wasn't enough or good enough for what they're looking for.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
A lot behind the scenes, I think. Driver shortage tops trucking industry's challenges for a third consecutive year. Motor carriers and commercial drivers agree on just 4 of the top 10 challenges facing the trucking industry, according to the American Transportation Research Institute's ATRI annual study. The shortage of for-hire long-haul drivers was the top issue in ATRI's annual survey that has taken the industry's pulse for the last 15 years. ATRI released the 2019 Critical Issues results October 6th at the American Trucking Association's, the ATA, their management conference and exposition in San Diego.
Motor carriers, who made up 51% of the 2,000 respondents, overwhelmingly picked the driver shortage, with the ATA pegged at 60,800 at the end of 2018. The issue did not crack the top 10, though, for commercial drivers.
No surprise there.
Not really a surprise. Drivers comprised 35% of respondents. They listed driver compensation as the top issue. Also, not a surprise
there.
It made the overall list for the first time, ranking third. Carriers who raised driver pay an average of 6% in 2018 when trucking capacity tight did not list the issue in their top 10.
Interesting. Well, here's the ATRI's their top 10.
Yeah.
Driver shortage, number 1. We're going in order of importance here, I guess. Driver shortage, hours of service, driver compensation at number 3, 4, detention delay at customer facilities, 5, truck parking, 6, driver retention, 7, ELD mandate, 8, CSA, 9, transportation infrastructure, which is congestion and funding, all in there, and 10, economy.
But here's what the commercial drivers valued the most. They said driver compensation was the biggest issue, hours of service, driver retention, truck parking, ELD mandate, CSA detention delay at facilities. So the autonomous truck technology. So they don't really line up there, but it does.
No,
it's interesting though when you see what the two different perspectives are and where these different groups are coming from.
Yes.
Oh, it's time to talk to a young gentleman who made his debut appearance last Friday. It's Andrew Cox with the PPI group. He's going to talk about, with the research group, he's going to be talking about the DHL Supply Chain FreightWaves Pricing Power Index. Welcome back to the show, Andrew Cox. Woo!
You're gonna have to find a way to fit DHL into your
DHL Supply Chain FreightWaves Pricing Power Index. That's that index uses the analytics and data contained in SONAR to analyze the market and estimate the negotiating power for rates between shippers and carriers. In
Correct.
short, right?
Yeah, in short. Yep, that's exactly it.
Well articulated.
So what's going on with it, Andrew?
So we're sitting at 30. We are back down a bit from our weekly index. Last week we were at 35. And it's because we had some mixed signals. It's unlike last week and the weekend before. We had a lot of critical events with the strike and the oil strike and the Houston rains. We had a lot of things that were big events. We didn't have many this week, so we focused only on 5 indicators that were load volumes. We did rejections. We had paper and spot rates, econ data, and we actually tied in new Class 8 truck orders with tender rejections.
So break it down for us. What can we glean from all of this stuff? Where were things looking strong? Where are they looking weak?
Strong volumes. Again, we got really strong volumes throughput year over year. We're up 7% or over 7%, and not to be negative, but it is the comparables are easing because the end of 2017, 2018, or the end of 2018 was the hot market began to cool down in September and October, so the comparisons are easing.
Well, so if it's trending down toward 30, that's favoring shippers?
Correct, yes.
So it's going away from favoring carriers, but the momentum and trend here on load volumes is positive for carriers.
Yes, so volumes are probably the only short-term positive for the carriers.
I see.
We do have some long-term positive for the carriers, and we'll get into that here in a minute.
Okay.
But everything else is leaning towards the shippers. Rejections
Gotcha.
are still near historical lows. The year-over-year comps are terrible. Didn't even touch OTRI. Didn't even touch single digits last year at all. So comps are nearly impossible. But
what does that mean? OTRI is the SONAR index, but what does that mean for someone who's tuning in now and he's like, "What did you just say to me?"
What's OTRI? Are we speaking in tongues? Or?
A bit of tongues. So OTRI is a rejection rate. So we have, let's say, out of 100 loads, 5.3% of them are rejected.
Stands for the outbound tender rejection.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And it is still really low. We're up a little bit off of the mid-August lows. I think it got all the way down to 3.7% there in August. So we have had an uptrend since then, but it's just been steadily it's just not going anywhere. We keep expecting it to go up, and somewhere between 8 and 10 would be favorable towards carriers, but we haven't gotten there yet. But we do think in the next few months we could see some capacity leaving the market. Finally, we're seeing some data. Actually, Seth Holm posted a little short white paper on this. It's available in SONAR just last week.
And I think Kevin King of the Hill also anticipates this.
Yeah, we talked to Seth walked through the dynamics of new Class 8 truck orders and spot and contract rates. And with that...
I was going to say you have spot rates. The spot rates are, what, $1.42 a mile, and that's down 17% from last year?
Year over year, yeah. Still down. That's another thing that's positive for shippers.
Yeah.
So, but another, something that's, again, another long-term positive for carriers is this narrowing of the spread between paper and contract rates, paper and spot rates. You have spot rates finally.
Okay.
We think spot rates are finally going to make some year-over-year increases, and that is because shippers are now moving loads away from contract freight and onto the spot market to try to take advantage of these cost savings, and that narrowing of the spread can be seen as a troughing in the market. So could be good for carriers if we can avoid that looming recession. That would be terrible for everybody, but
Wait, there's a looming recession?
somebody said
We
so.
hear about it.
And then, so back with rejections and that new truck orders, I just wanted to make a point that Seth walked through the new truck orders, and he kind of did an average replacement rate of 275,000 trucks per year. And right now we're sitting at like 150,000 new trucks being ordered. So Seth estimates that 5% of capacity should be leaving the market here in the near term. And that's kind of confirmed when you look at the used truck prices in SONAR. We've got 4-year-old and 5-year-old used truck prices, and those are both down 2% over year. So adding that all together, you have contracting capacity moving into 2020 with volumes up 7%. This could be really good for carriers.
Now, we're going to be talking about economic trends with Anthony Smith in just a minute here, but we all saw the president tweet just the other day, basically, you can impeach me because unemployment's the lowest it's been in 50 years. So how do the economic stats figure into this index?
The economic stats are rocky. They really are. So we had last month you had the ISM manufacturing index down again. I think it's at like 47%. I'm sure Anthony will touch on this.
Yeah.
This is the lowest it's been in 10 years. So that is frightening. And yeah, unemployment is at 50 years lows, but we're only hiring 2/3 of the amount of jobs we were hiring this time last year.
Wow.
So it is slowing, and some economists are saying if this trend continues for the next couple of months, that we're finally going to see unemployment rate.
Wait, and that's not because most people have a job? Like at a certain point, right? Doesn't it have to go down? Because
Yeah, you have your natural level of
Yeah.
unemployment, right? And I think we're nearing it, right?
Yeah, because there's a finite amount of like the resource of, I guess, human capital.
Yeah, of people and hours that we can work, right?
All right. Well, Andrew, how do they find the index? And it has a new and improved name. I want to make sure I say this right. The DHL Supply Chain FreightWaves Pricing Power Index.
You can find that every Thursday, published mid-afternoon on FreightWaves.com. And I'm sure Seth or Kevin and I will be talking about it on FreightWaves Now and here on What the Truck.
Perfect.
Yeah, we will.
Thanks, Andrew.
Fantastic job, Andrew. What a natural.
Yeah.
Coming on in, saying it like it is, making complex things sound easy.
Yeah.
Let's see if Anthony Smith,
He's going to tell us what's on the radar, right?
let's see what he can tell us about some economic trends that we're seeing in SONAR.
Market expert.
Market expert.
Mountain of muscle. FreightWaves nutritionist.
Economist.
On the Radar, presented by SONAR.
Boom. He was on the radio this weekend with me.
I was. I had a
we
blast.
We had a great time in
I had
here.
a blast.
Man, getting media savvy, are we?
A little bit. I'm trying to be like you, Chad. Trying to be more like you.
Well, shucks.
Young protege.
I want to be more like you, man.
Yeah.
I want to bench press
Maybe-
with you, man. Well,
you guys can meet in the middle. How much do you lift?
Most I've ever benched,
Yeah.
usually about 4 times a week.
No.
I think he's
weight?
into 400.
4 times a week. No, like, how much weight?
About 415 is the most I've ever.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah,
415.
okay.
It's been a
Yeah.
while though.
I think I've gotten like 175 up before.
That's a good weight. That's a good weight.
Okay.
I've done 235.
That's kind of patronizing, isn't it? 235.
Yeah!
Wow. All right. We'll have to arm wrestle later.
That's a different muscle.
All right. Yeah. I like to use this one.
Oh!
All right.
That's right.
So when you were on the radar, we were talking about the ISM data. We talked about the manufacturing and we talked about the consumer confidence, right?
Right.
And the good news was that consumer confidence was still there. You know,
Yes.
there's no indications that we're going to have a terrible holiday shopping season. Andrew was just in here. He was telling us, he mentioned that, and he was talking about employment. And he said that employment's slowing down, but it's still at historic lows, which is a good thing. So what is in SONAR, though? What can a user go into our SONAR database, and what kind of economic indicators can they find?
Right. So just everything that you just mentioned. We have the ISM data, the PMI data. We have that broken down because a lot of people don't realize they see the headline number that's always kind of blasted on. Okay, it's had this lowest point in over 10 years, but there's components to it. So like there's new orders, there's the business confidence, there's just many components to it. So we have all the components to it in SONAR. For employment, we have non-farm. That's a really big designation for it, non-farm unemployment. We also look at quit rates because when we look at quit rates, that's telling us that people are feeling confident about leaving. And
yeah.
hey, I feel confident in the economy. I can go find a new job. I will voluntarily leave my employment.
Oh.
Take this place and shove it.
Yes.
Now, are the speaking of a trucker phrase? No, I
What? Is that a trucker?
take this job and shove it. You don't
Okay.
remember that from I think it's from Convoy. I don't know.
Oh,
it's like one of the songs on the soundtrack.
Maybe.
I learn
All right.
something new every day.
Take the.
I was thinking of the JetBlue guy who put the. Remember when he quit? He put like the escape ramp out, and he just like grabbed a glass of wine, slid down.
That's the
escape
way to
ramp.
go.
That's a great way to go.
That's the way to go.
Let's see. I was going to ask you. Oh, so some of these measurements they're self-evaluative, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ISM, for instance, or they're saying, hey, this is how we feel or think
Right,
is
right.
going on. So are they subjective? And if
They can be
so,
subjective,
How
yeah.
reliable do you feel like these indexes are?
They're pretty accurate because not only is it, like you said, it's kind of weighted because it's themselves telling how they feel,
Right.
and it's not exactly an exact measure. But when you line it up against something like industrial production, a macroeconomic indicator, we see a close correlation. And in fact, we see that it leads industrial production most of the time. So when we're looking at things like PMI, it's a forward-looking indicator that has direct implications, and businesses and executives make a lot of decisions off of whether or not they're going to invest and how they're going to move forward in the coming months.
Okay, so there's ways to corroborate it, and
Yes.
you find that they usually do line up.
They do.
Early
And,
indicators.
Yes.
Well, what are some of the indicators that we're since seeing?
it's not good. When we're looking at the PMI, I think you guys mentioned that it just hit the lowest level in just over 10 years.
Yeah.
I think we were just talking about that here. One of the other things that not a lot of people are talking about is the new orders component, right? So when we're looking at new orders, that's things that's going to come online, go into production, and then that's going to have implications to freight. And so when we're looking at the new order side, that's also in a contractionary trend. I think it was 47.3. So I think it kind of bumped up 0.3 from the month ago level, but still down under that 50 level benchmark. So it's around.
Well,
that
here's a
50.
question for you. Better band, Joy Division or New Order?
Is that just me?
Hey, both.
Okay.
Either
Oh.
one. Because I'd go with Joy Division.
Yeah, I was about to say Joy Division.
All right.
I'm more familiar with.
Yeah.
I'm going to level with you. I'm not familiar with either.
That's all right. That's all right. You don't have to. You don't have to flex your. a lot of most you have to flex, but you don't have to flex the music
I
one.
don't. No.
Okay, well, so these are some trends we're seeing now. Last night when Seth Holm was on here last week, he was saying that we might have ways of not actually having a freight recession. Australia, for instance, hasn't had a recession since 1991. There's some ways to make it to subvert things, raise interest rates at the right time or whatever. Do you? I mean, there's a lot. The media likes to talk a lot about the freight recession. Is it much ado about nothing, or is it? What do you see?
Well, with recession, it's not a necessary thing.
Okay.
It's just a thing that definitely happens from time to time. It's a natural thing. I think that a lot of people, when they hear recession, they freak out because I think the most recent one was just so awful, right?
Yeah.
So 08, 09. Not a lot of people remember 80s, 2001 recession, where it was it wasn't a soft landing, but I think the next upcoming recession, because the consumer's in such a good place, that it won't be as drastic as 08, 09. So when we're looking at recession, there are ways that, in hindsight, this could have been avoided. A lot of times it could be consumer-led. When we're looking at consumer confidence levels, and people just aren't feeling confident about the currency that's in place.
It's almost like a mass psychology.
It can be,
Right.
definitely.
But Chad is saying a freight recession, and I think you're talking about a regular recession, right?
No, I was talking regular.
Okay, you said freight
Yeah.
recession multiple times, so I was just trying to clarify, because I was starting to get confused with what you're going on. Yeah. How tethered are the two, though?
Okay, so somewhat, but there can be a freight recession without an overall recession, because when we're looking at the freight side,
as we saw in 2016.
Exactly. There's so much that goes into the manufacturing side of things. International trade, that's such a huge thing with manufacturing right now.
Yeah.
That's really kind of weighing down business confidence. And so when we're looking at those kind of things, that can really weigh down manufacturing and not really affect the consumer at all. But, yeah.
Well, give us some prognostication. What should we be looking at in SONAR to be our guiding light economically for the next month here?
I think looking at the tender rejection rates for sure. When we're looking at the refrigerated outbound tender rejection rates, looking at the non-durable goods, things like produce, things like that, or raw materials even.
Yeah.
Depending on the seasonality.
Why do people not buy like fresh vegetables when they're starting to get a little tight with the money? They go like buy like they start eating like tuna and cat food and stuff.
I don't think they eat tuna. I mean, I eat tuna on a regular basis.
All right,
but
you're not worried about the mercury?
I'm not very good. Not too much. Tuna,
right.
salmon, I can eat it every day.
Okay.
Don't tell my doctor, but
I need to check those levels.
Exactly. I will look at the rejection rates. You can always kind of do those comparisons with things like the home purchase sentiment index, with housing starts, things like that, and then also bring those rejection rates to the PMI to kind of get a feel for what's going on in manufacturing.
Good stuff. Well,
Yeah.
Anthony, tell them how to find out more.
Fantastic stuff.
You can find out more by tuning in here at What the
okay.
Truck.
No, but how do I find out more about you personally?
Whoa,
about me.
smooth operator.
I do like that though.
asmith@freightwaves.com. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I love your emails. Keep them coming.
All right. Email him.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
I'm here.
Either way.
Yeah,
Anthony
let's
Smith.
talk.
All right. Thank you for joining us today.
Economics
having me.
extraordinaire. Great stuff, man. I like to call it edutainment.
Speaking of edutainment, we're about to play a little edutaining game, aren't
Oh,
we?
yeah. Let's see.
Market expert trivia. Market expert trivia. Market expert trivia.
Excellent.
Now we have another game. What is this?
Put on the can. Oh.
Come on, market experts do play. Market expert trivia. Ah, man.
Sometimes it gets a little carried away.
I enjoy that one. And okay, so now we have our own independent buzzers. This will be yours right here, sir, son.
Right here.
This is going to be mine.
Let's hear his
That's
sound.
yours, yeah. So your
Let's
sound
hear
is
your
that,
sound.
and mine is
Oh,
this. Okay.
well,
So
yours is
once
far more
again-
pleasant. It's a dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chad,
we'll
whichever one you hear
definitely
first. So
Okay,
he's going
no
to read the
pressure.
entire question, though. He's going to read. You can't
Yeah.
answer until.
I've finished
Yes.
the options.
And if you answer too soon, you lose your chance to answer. You got to wait for your opponent. Because this is for the audience, too.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So this is about sustainability.
And why
in
would
the
that be?
supply chain? Because we have a upcoming episode on Off the Supply Chain
Yeah.
Friday at noon, in which that's our theme. That's our topic.
I'm the defending champion, so why am I not on this episode?
Wait, no.
Yes, I am. I don't know if you watched Off the Supply Chain this weekend, but I won on China Rising.
Oh,
Well,
but you
Zach is on the panel
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
on the-
forthcoming. I
Yes,
don't know if we can.
I know.
tease, did he win or did he not? He's not
I'm
wearing
just saying
the gold
I wasn't
chain.
even able to compete. I'm not either. I had to give it back to the judges. But good luck on Friday.
Thanks.
Okay. So, in light of that, we have got a market expert trivia quiz on sustainability. We have 5 questions, multiple choice, 4 options for each one.
Okay.
Okay, number 1. Unless urgent collective action is taken by 2050, there will be, by weight, more plastic than fish in the sea. The World Economic Forum report, The New Plastics Economy, says at least blank million tons of plastic enter the ocean every year. A, 2, B, 4, C, 6, D, 8. Just barely beat him.
8.
8 is correct. Wow.
Yeah.
Intense,
Yeah.
guys. Number 2,
right.
with Dooner barely up by 1. We've heard about solar blinds that not only block sunlight but also absorb the light.
Oh.
But have you heard about paint-based solar?
No.
Solar. Yeah.
Sonar.
Talking about sonar.
I'm so
Solar.
confused. Regular silicon-based cells have an efficiency yield of around 20%. For the organic materials, the most efficient of the paint can reach around blank percent. Is it 3, 9, 15, or 18?
15.
15. Yes, it is.
Do I have to
Wow.
wait for him? Do I have to wait for you to finish with the
Yeah.
whole thing?
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's the. Wow.
I'm getting beat because my reflexes are so
Well,
old
get
and weak.
that right there. Just get it right there.
You're like 6 months older than me.
Yeah, I know. See what
That's all-
happens.
that's
See
all
what
that
happens.
counts.
See what you have to look
I
forward
know,
to.
I know.
Number 3.
I better get my wins while I can.
Diminishing returns real fast. Research has recently found that since the blank, the amount of since which decade? Since the blank decade, the amount of microscopic
The greatest decade.
the amount of microscopic plastics in the sediments that has doubled about every 15 years. Is it the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s?
It was the 1950s.
No, that is incorrect.
Let's go with 60s.
Oh, that's incorrect, too. 1940s.
All right.
1940s. 70 years.
Well,
40s. All right.
reflexes
We're the
didn't matter
track.
there.
No, it didn't matter.
Still 2-0, not too late. Two more questions.
Okay.
All right.
The theory behind bioplastics is simple. If we can make plastics from kinder chemicals to start with, they'd break down more quickly and easily when we got rid of them. The most familiar bioplastics are made from natural materials, such as blank. Is it molasses, wheat, cornstarch, or cotton?
It is corn starch.
Cornstarch it is.
Yeah.
Did you beat him on the trigger that time, too? That was hard to tell.
Yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure he did.
3
Like I said, old and
All right,
we'll
for
play
pride,
for pride, for
just
pride.
for trying to get on the board. Man,
pride.
Diener is tough to beat these days in this. Until this year, China took a lot of the U.S.'s trash, but this year they stopped. What are we going to do with all our trash now that China is no longer taking blank percentage of our trash?
Throw it in the ocean.
Eat it.
30%, 50%, 70%, or 90%. Zach got that one.
That was early, too.
And
Get on the
he
board.
disqualified himself.
70%.
It was 70%.
70.
It is 70%.
I was like, I'm going to answer one.
I thought you were right on time.
He disqualified himself. He's a little early, but we won't split hairs on that one.
Yay, Zach, thanks for playing. But, so, Zach, can you answer the question? What are we going to do?
About
What are we going to do with all of that trash that's no longer going to China or any other form?
Well, right now
70%.
Right now we're shipping a lot of it over to other Asian countries.
But I thought they
Yeah.
were rejecting it too.
They're starting to. It hasn't fully actualized yet, but yeah, the final solution is obviously to come up with some other way of producing this plastic.
What about Elon? What about
final
SpaceX?
solution.
Could we just shoot it out into space?
We could shoot it into
out the
space,
sun.
but that's not cost effective either. But I
Yeah.
mean, somebody's going to have to have to come up with a way that plastic is just not a great solution for getting a container.
Now that I've become like aware of it. Like
I
anytime
know.
I'm like, man, this is so much. And I throw it away. And I'm like, God, what a waste. What a
No,
waste.
it's fascinating to see just how much of it we use too, and we've really become blind to it.
Yeah.
Most plastic is single use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like unlike this plastic that I've been using over and over very sustainably.
I mean, they go through plastic bags, but I also think like the great frontier is like packaging, because so many times I buy things and I'm like, wow, there's just so much there's a big like box around it, and then there's all this
And a lot of
tearaway.
it upsets me. Like
Yeah.
you have to get those
Yeah.
special scissors.
Oh
Does
yeah,
anybody
that
have the special
kind.
scissors?
Yeah. Oh my
know.
god. And then it like cuts you.
Yeah.
You could
It's
you could
terrible.
like shank someone with it. You couldn't give like someone a pair of headphones in prison because they could kill you at the box.
Yeah, I don't know how many
my-
times I open the toys for my kids and I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah.
You know?
My wife will get like a little face cream, right? And it's in like a huge box with like all the packaging around. It's like
Right.
a huge box for this little thing.
Yeah.
It's a waste. It's
A
really
huge box.
it's terrible.
It is terrible. So
All
Zach,
right.
how can they find out more? You're on what? FreightWaves Now every morning?
FreightWaves Now every morning. Or no. Just right now it's Mondays and Fridays. I kind of start the week and I end the week.
Oh, nice.
Feels like a good, nice bookend.
Kind
Yeah.
of like What the Truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, we know that in almost all things you are a winner as well. So sorry that you lost here.
Thanks for the boost.
I know that.
And
that's-
good luck
I know
on Off
that's
the
tough.
Supply Chain.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Although, to your point, maybe you should have defended your title this week.
I wasn't invited.
But you know what? I'm kind of glad because you're a little quick with your hands.
Yeah, a little dangerous. All right,
All right.
well,
Thank you, Sultan.
thank you, sir.
All right. Great to have you in
It's
there.
time for a little big deal,
Keep
little
that
deal.
open. Oh, man.
Emily
Keep that
Szink.
open for Emily. It is a hot box in here.
This is one of my favorite games to play because I get to dominate you.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Little deal.
Welcome to the 90 degree tank.
Woo, it's steamy, because it's rained for the first time
Yeah.
in like talking about big deal, little deal. It's rained for the first time in like 2 months here.
Yeah, and it really is cool outside, but I thought for sure we'd get a
humid.
little break in here,
Very
but it
humid
is
in here.
It is humid. So, who goes first?
So
2-1
let's get
last
this over
time.
with.
I believe I go first this time. Chad, I've let him go first the last few times.
Sure,
I don't
go
feel like
first,
being a
dude.
gentleman anymore.
Okay, well, Dooner.
Gloves are off.
Recently, U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized cocaine valued at around $1.6 million hidden in a load of carrots. It was entering the U.S.-Mexico border, crossing in South Texas in a truck. Is this a big deal bust or a little deal bust?
Well, I'll tell you something. I've been on that raw diet for a week now, and I've been eating a lot of baby carrots. And I've been wondering why I've had so much energy, and maybe this explains it.
Wow, and why you were addicted and you just kept chomping on
Eating
it.
that and hummus.
Cocaine
You gotta eat a lot.
carrots.
You know what happens
okay.
though, like when you eat vegetables, your body like burns that really cleanly.
Yes.
It doesn't just sit there like a big like pancake or a biscuit or something like that. Is it a big? It's kind of one of the smaller ones.
They
we've
don't
been
put
reading
the
about.
cocaine in the actual carrots.
Yeah, but it
Just
gets like
FYI.
dusted a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like
like a little
Could
sprinkle.
be why you're eating so many carrots.
They are good. Is that's a little deal. We hear about like we've been covering busts a lot of drug busts. I feel like every big deal, little deal for the past 2 months has had some
In
sort of
food,
drug bust.
yeah.
And this has been one of the smaller ones. So this
Okay.
is just a baby carrot deal.
I like it.
Okay, fair enough. You know, I think all of these busts are relative to their big deal, little deal based upon the size of the bust. And I don't really know what the biggest is or not, but it sounds like a lot to me. 60 packages of cocaine weighing almost 212 pounds. That's about your weight in
Yeah.
cocaine,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I would say that's a big deal. You know, big
I'm
deal.
trying to get down to
But-
185 pounds of cocaine.
That's
with
that's
this
why
raw
you're
diet.
doing your raw diet. Wow, how are you doing with that?
Pretty good. I'm like 90% raw. It is kind of hard because like there's just
Some
certain
things are just cooked, right?
There's some things that are just cooked.
Like,
and like
your goose is cooked.
yeah, I'm not gonna kill myself over
All
it.
right.
And I am like when we're in Chicago, I might give myself like a pass to have like to go off the vegan side just for
A taste.
for a deep
Get a
dish
slice
pizza.
of that. There you go. Well, tomato importers say new border rules will cause delays and higher prices. New regulations call for up to 92% of imported Mexican tomatoes crossing the border be inspected by officials of the U.S. from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Chad, is this a big deal or a little deal to be inspecting all these tomatoes?
I think this is an onerous deal. This is a silly deal. It is
Right.
onerous because they're not apparently like 99.776% of the tomatoes pass the inspection. And they're going to be they've decided that they're going to inspect 92% of
Yeah.
them. How arbitrary. It's going to create a bullwhip effect. And we don't need unnecessary bullwhip effects in the supply chain. Big, fat, hairy, onerous deal.
Oh, okay, Dooner.
You know, Chad's like my 5-year-old. He learned the term bullwhip while we were out in Houston, and he's just been using it nonstop
Actually,
ever since.
it was
he's a
onerous.
Bullwhip. That's what you learned, onerous?
He's learned a few new words. Leave him alone.
Well, we learned the bullwhip from Popeyes, though, right? When we were talking about
Yeah.
the buns, they had enough chicken, but not enough buns, and for some reason, like
They were running out everywhere, and people were
but the same chicken either way.
running through the streets.
And they're like, bring your own bun. I don't know. So, but
And
this
then
is, I guess, this is a pretty, you know, like you obviously know nothing about statistics. This is a big deal. You don't have to screen 100%. That's impossible. But like that doesn't mean you shouldn't screen any either, Chad. I just don't want these tomatoes to go bad.
That's true.
Mic drop. Okay, Dooner. Bird raises $215 million in Series D led by CDPQ and Sequoia Capital. If you aren't familiar with Bird, they are one of the companies behind those electric scooters. We don't have them here in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Is this a big deal or a little deal, Dooner?
Well, it's a big deal because you got to get that money while you can. They've been banned in Chattanooga. That's why we don't have them here. We started the show talking about Oktoberfest.
oh my
Hundreds
gosh.
of arrests, people getting drunk driving these scooters.
It's dangerous.
I know, and I think more municipalities are going to start banning these things, so it's going to be harder to raise funding when it's like, I can't go into X city, and I can't go into Y
That's
city,
true.
and I can't go into Germany anymore, and I can't go into France. Eventually, the companies are not going to have that much value to them. And it does seem kind of like a trend, but I was thinking about it, and I was like, how did these take off so quickly? But like 90s kids grew up with like Razor scooters,
Oh, yeah.
so they're already like, it's already in the DNA.
Yeah, and they just go faster and they don't have to
Yeah.
do any work. So
it's just
why
natural
not?
to jump on one. And they're like,
What do you
oh
think?
yeah,
So,
especially when you're drunk. That's like,
Big
yes.
deal to you that they raise these funds.
Yeah, you got to get the money while it's good.
Well, it's a lot of money, $275 million. If you're able to get to Series D, you're demonstrating something to the investors, I guess, some
Yeah.
kind of revenue that you're bringing in. And yet it's like we seem to be, the media is fascinated by these things, aren't we? We're just,
yeah.
there's a constant outrage story one after the other, and just none of it seems very, very optimistic or positive about like the longevity of this movement. You know, we want it to happen, but I can see how they are a burden to society in a way. It's I'm going to say though, I don't know that this company is really going to maintain it, and I'm going to say so in the long scheme of things, little deal. Little
Okay.
deal, bird.
Big deal for you.
Long
little
answer
deal.
to get to a little deal.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes for these things if they're still around in a few years. Softbank's billionaire leader says he is embarrassed by investment records, saying he's unhappy with how far short his accomplishments to date have fallen from his goals. It makes you feel bad about yourself, a billionaire, not feeling good.
Oh, I feel
Big
so
deal or little
bad
deal,
for him.
Chad?
So behind the curve. Apparently he made his fortune with some investments in, a lot of things, but one of them, I think Softbank, Alibaba, Baba. But the only things that seem to have been he's frustrated by are Uber Technologies and WeWork. So like a couple of missed that, like little deal.
He could cry
maybe
on
it's
top of his
maybe it's a
millions
big
at
deal
night.
that he's being so open about it. It's a little deal.
But Dooner
It's a
looks
little
like
deal.
he's ready to.
I'm going to say it's a big deal because a company like that is kind of a trend center. They send ripples throughout the industry, and when they jump in on things, and what they're doing is they're starting to, it's that Puxawani Phil effect. People are starting to see their shadow in some of these investments, with the WeWork, and he's got to save face a little bit. He's got to be
Maybe
like,
like bird scooters.
I'm embarrassed that Uber hasn't taken off in other countries and WeWork isn't working because it's easier you got to say something, right? You can't be like, no, it's going exactly as planned.
Yeah.
But it does make other investors go, and you're talking about like a $150 billion fund, or I think it's something around there. That's a lot of money. So there's definitely ripple effects and reverberations. Then when you have people always like sort of like
Fair
cheering
point.
for this, there's almost like people are cheering for a recession because they want to be right about it. And then a lot of our economy right now is kind of propped up by some of these investments. So something like that can really start, there could be a whole domino effect. So
Okay.
pretty big deal.
Interesting take. Now this is just crazy to me. China is breeding pigs the size of polar bears.
Yeah.
Is bigger better, or in this case, is less more Dooner?
Well, you know what? When I was a kid, I went to 4-H camp, and I uncurled a pig's tail. And did you know that it can take
How
like
do
2
you
weeks?
do that?
You just pull it like straight out, and it can take like 2 weeks for its tail to come back.
Oh, does it hurt?
No,
Pig?
no,
Okay.
they don't mind it at all. And I like the pigs quite a bit. So I don't, I've always kind of avoided pork due to that.
Yeah.
Because they're friendly. They're like dogs when you get to know them.
They're smarter than dogs, as I understand.
Yeah.
Did you see Charlotte's
I mean, some
Web?
dogs, that's
Yeah.
not that hard.
You know?
And they're actually pretty clean.
Speaking
If you don't, if you don't put them out in all the slop of stuff,
Emily
they're
and I-
clean, for real, they are.
Emily and I were talking
Yeah,
to.
they're clean.
Emily and I were talking dogs. We couldn't get dog talk off the
Oh my
phone
gosh.
on Road Dog Trucking FreightWaves Radio. We were talking about that story about the federal case. Guy had the dog in his cab,
Oh, yeah.
and everyone called it overwhelming support
Yeah.
from drivers for dogs.
Favorite was a guy, though. He said he would like to drive with the dog, but he would really prefer to drive with the Black Panther. next to
Oh,
him.
well, okay. A little more protection there.
so-
That's funny because on Comment Section Rodeo, those commenters were really down on the
I
guy. who wanted the
know,
dog.
I know, and
They're
we
really
asked
positive,
everyone,
yeah.
right? We were sure to ask them if they thought that the panic attacks, the social anxiety disorder, should be a reason he should be not included as a driver,
Yeah.
and none of them, not a single
They were
one, was
very
like
supportive.
They were, and these are drivers. They're like,
Yeah.
no, of course not. That's like the cab is the best place for him, actually.
Really interesting. Go to freightwaves.com and you'll see that article and all the comments,
Yeah.
which were
Yeah.
very interesting. But back
Give
to
the
the pig.
Sirius XM app. Go
Yes.
on Sirius XM. You listen to
There you
last
go.
week's episode from 3 to 3:30. Emily and I was on. Then Anthony Smith was there
Yeah.
from 3:30 to 4.
It was
So
fun.
listen
me-
back. So okay, the pigs. Okay, yeah, it's a big deal. Don't mess with nature. Remember what Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park.
Don't mess
Just
with
because.
nature.
The scientists
Yeah.
never to paraphrase. Just because
Well-
you can doesn't mean you should.
It makes me nervous.
I don't. It's not so much about the pigs unless they're like steroiding them up and making them unhealthy, which we don't. I don't have any details on that. But it's less is more. The bigger problem is not so much that it's the shortage of pork. It's apparently they've got an extreme shortage, 10 million tons shortage this year.
Yeah.
And they expect that to be going well into 2020.
So they just make the
So
pigs bigger so
it's-
they give off more pork?
Yeah, it's less is more.
Yeah.
Why don't they just feed them like the corn that they're feeding the pigs to make them gigantic?
I don't know. It
Deep
would make,
thoughts,
it
man.
would make
I don't
sense.
know. You're asking penetrating questions.
Okay, according to CNN, the new Joker movie about a marginalized clown, we all know who the Joker is,
Yeah.
could actually incite copycat violence, meaning if you see someone do something, then you act out. What do you
Yeah.
think? Who, big deal, little deal?
So, Chad's gonna take this one first.
Do you believe CNN on this one?
This is a big deal. Like, this is a big deal. This is, I mean,
What about it?
It's society, culturally and societally. Like, you've got, I mean, it could be dark, but I think that it actually in our times right now.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of experiencing what I would call like social regression in certain ways. That they're like, it's really touching a nerve because it's all too possible the reality that could come from it. But Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix is defending himself, and if I were an actor, I would be honored because I'd be like, I have starred in a movie that is like really getting people fired up. They're kind of afraid to go. They don't know. Should they wear masks to the show?
Okay.
And so he is like, he says, I think it's really good when movies make us uncomfortable or challenge us or make us think differently.
Oh, that's what art should do, right?
Yeah.
All right, I mean, it's a
You
little
seem to be
deal.
against it, yeah.
Well, because it's made up. Like they were just
big
like,
deal.
oh, we think that this movie is going to incite people. And granted, in Aurora, where we just were, where we drove past that
By
movie
that
theater,
theater.
Drove past the theater.
Batman movie, DC movie, The Dark Knight, right? The Dark Knight
Incredibly,
Rises.
it's still there.
The Joker wasn't in that movie though, but The Dark Knight Rises,
Right,
there was that
same-
big shooting beforehand.
He dressed as the Joker, though, as he went into the theater.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
But this was
I
like,
didn't
you
know
know,
that detail.
art's an outlet for people, and this was sort of like, I don't know, there's such a projection here that this is going to cause violence, and violence is going to happen because of this movie. But it's like the Tide Pods, but like no violence has happened yet because of it, and like nobody was really
The
eating
Tide
Tide
Pods?
Pods. Yeah, like the whole thing was like kind of a hoax. Nobody's really eating Tide Pods. Nobody's really going to the Joker yet. Like, thank God, cross your fingers. But nobody's going yet. And there wasn't like some sort of incel riot there. Like that was they called this like the incel like rallying cry, you know, for that group of people. Fortunately, it didn't happen. What is a marginalized clown though?
I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
redundant, I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because clowns are marginalized.
I'm with you. They, just by them talking about it,
Yeah.
that is putting an idea in someone's head.
Yeah.
It has not happened yet. So if something happened after watching the movie, that is a copycat crime.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just.
But it's made people nervous. There's a lot of controversy. You're both wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay. I mean, it also
Well,
made
now
100
how?
million, so it
But
didn't make people that
sometimes-
nervous.
Yeah. Well, I know. It's a big deal of a movie.
250 million globally.
Wow. Well, that's all I got. You guys going to go see the Joker?
Now I think I might.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll go
Okay.
after we leave this booth.
There we go.
Yeah, we can continue our big deal, little deal argument there.
We don't have any free time, though. We're constantly producing.
Yeah, you guys are on the move.
Gotta go to
creating new
Chicago tomorrow
content,
morning.
Ideating. So I don't know how much entertaining I'm gonna have anytime soon.
Maybe when it comes out on DVD. Well, DVD. Who gets DVD?
DVD is
rent
so
the VHS tape.
2015.
Maybe when it comes out on Netflix,
VHS
you can
and chill.
watch it. Yeah, VHS and chill. Well, thank
Blockbuster
you
night.
guys. It's getting hot.
Wait, what's next for you?
Oh,
What's
it's
next for you,
next for
Emily?
me?
Think, yeah.
Yeah.
We are actually upstairs working on an episode of Off the Supply Chain this Friday, sustainability.
Oh.
So all about paper straws versus plastic straws.
So excited.
Yeah, so a good episode.
China's
We're
not
kinda-
taking our trash.
Oh,
No.
not enough of it.
Yeah, well, we'll see if people agree if China should take our
Yeah.
trash or not. So yeah.
I know
Nice-
Zach is on that show. I'm the defending champion of Off the Supply Chain. For some reason, I wasn't allowed to defend my title on this particular episode, but that's all right.
Yeah,
'cause
you
I was
were
able to beat
boycotted.
Zach in Market Expert
You're
Trivia.
just dominating. We just have to keep
You're
you
too
away.
dominant. No, it's all right. I
We
need
have
a
to
break.
wait to bring you towards the end. Then
Yes.
all the
I should be the
champions
final
rise up
boss.
Again.
I'll be the final
there you go.
boss.
Yeah, so no, good episode.
You got to make it
so
through the playoffs first, man.
Yeah.
We're
Gotta
working
make it
on
through the
that.
playoffs.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you
for joining
guys.
us, Emily.
No
Thank
problem.
you,
Have a
Emily.
good trip. Yeah.
At Emily Szink
Big
on
deal,
Twitter. That's
Emily
not
Szink.
Zinc, like the mineral. It's
Yeah.
pronounced that way, but it's SZINK. What's next for us? You can find this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, not iTunes, right? Because that's gone in the iOS. Apple Podcasts,
Wow.
Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere that podcasts are heard
Around the world.
You can find him at Chad Prevost, me at Timothy Dooner. Like I said, we'll be out in Chicago. If you got something cool for us when we're out there, let us know. We'll be pretty busy, but I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll grab a slice of deep
Throw
dish
us
with
a
you.
line.
We got to turn the key on the ignition here because we got to get ready for our trip. But a little dedications, a little cowbell for everyone tuning into the live feed today.
Yeah, it's been great to be here with you on Monday. Have a great week. Have a great rainy week.
A little cowbell for Harrison White, who won tickets to that Georgia-Tennessee game.
Shout out Harrison White, running the Mevo.
Who's been running the show on What the Truck? Oh, shout out to Dean Croak. I saw saw him walk by here. Do you think he'll be here Friday to do a
Will
little
he
Dean's
make
List with
the
us?
Dean's List? Stay tuned.
Who's going to make the Dean's List? Boom!
We don't know. Over
Shout out to
and
everybody out there. Subscribe.
out, baby.